All right. Hey, good morning again, everybody. This is Ken Morgan, and we're at Springfield United Methodist Church. I just finished the daily devotion today for Luke chapter 19, and then I saw some feedbacks for some more audio problems. I'm so sorry on that. We're trying to get a handle on all these things, and so I thought that I wanted to test this out using a different microphone and to see if it's having some of that spotty sound as well. So I'm going to teach just a little bit more today. You're welcome to join in if you'd like to, and we'll just kind of see where this goes. All right. So Luke chapter 19. I'm going to go into verse number 28. Read some scripture here. All right. So it says, after telling the story, Jesus went on to Jerusalem, walking ahead of his disciples. As he came out of the towns of Bethphage and Bethany on the Mount of Olives, he sent two disciples ahead. Go into that village over there, he said, and as you enter it, you will see a young donkey tied there that no one's ever ridden. Untie it and bring it here. If anyone asks, why are you untying that colt? Just say the Lord needs it. So they went and found the colt just as Jesus had said. And sure enough, as they were untying, the owners asked them, why are you untying that colt? And the disciples simply replied, the Lord needs it. So they brought the colt to Jesus and threw their garments over it for him to ride on. As he rode along, the crowd spread out their garments on the road ahead of him. When he reached the place where the road started down the Mount of Olives, all the followers began to shout and sing as they walked along, praising God for all the wonderful miracles they had seen. Blessings on the King who comes in the name of the Lord. Peace in heaven and glory in highest heaven. But some of the Pharisees among the crowd said, Teacher, rebuke your followers for saying things like that. And he replied, if they were to keep quiet, the stones along the road would burst into cheers. You know, I always love this moment of Jesus. This is Jesus coming in to Jerusalem, coming into the holy city. And this is the beginning of what will be the last week of his life before, as it leads to his death at the crucifixion. And what I love about Jesus here is that Jesus continues to fulfill Scripture. You know, it was prophesied that Jesus would come, riding on a donkey into Jerusalem. You know, so Jesus, the very act of what he's doing is fulfilling prophecy spoken about Jesus hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years before he ever came into this world. Another thing about Jesus riding on a donkey is what a contrast that is to the idea of a mighty horse or stallion, right? It's like, you think about, just an emperor, you think about a king, the images we have so often of someone riding would be on just a majestic stallion, right? Some kind of big, mighty horse. Horses are beautiful. Horses are absolutely amazing to be around. They truly are a majestic kind of animal. And you compare that to a donkey, it's a stark comparison, isn't it? One has this majesty, it has this beauty, has this elegance about it, and the other, the donkey, just has this kind of gray, this blah, this ordinary to it. And I think it's an appropriate purpose for Jesus, because Jesus is absolutely the King. He's the King of heaven, right? But here he is, humbled himself as the King who's going to die to bring salvation to all people. And so what better animal for him to ride than to ride a young colt, a donkey? One that just identifies with, he's a part of everyday life. And that the focus isn't so much about Jesus as it is about the way Jesus comes to glorify God the Father. The way that it is about Jesus coming to magnify and fulfill the wonderful work that God has sent him to do. One of the neat things about a donkey, you may have heard this before, but the neat thing about a donkey, that the markings on top of a donkey, on the very top of a donkey, the markings on top of it actually form in the shape of a cross. And so as Jesus was riding this donkey, I know they put garments on it, but he'd been on the donkey before. As Jesus is riding this donkey, he's sitting on, this animal, and there as he is the cross. A reminder as he's walking into Jerusalem on this donkey, and everybody's praising his name, right? They're saying, praise, blessings on the King who comes in the name of the Lord, peace in heaven, glory in the highest heaven. Where did we hear those words before? Didn't we hear it when Jesus came into earth that night that he was born, right? That as everyone's praising his name and exalting him and magnifying him and expecting him to come and now be the conquering king, here he is, the humble king. Here he is, the one who, as he's riding in, has the very witness before him on that donkey, that the way his victory will come will not be sitting on an earthly throne, but it will be through his death that brings about victory over sin, over sickness, over death, over hell, and over Satan, right? And that's just a marvelous way in which Jesus comes. He's the humble king. He's the humble king, but yet he's going to be the conquering king, just in a way that they didn't expect. I love another piece of this too. I love how, the Pharisees, the religious leaders, they're like, okay, Jesus, they're treating you like the Messiah. We don't think you are. We really just want you out of the picture, right? But they're like, listen, they're saying things about you right now that are deserved only for the coming king, the Messiah. And what Jesus says, and I love it, he says, if they kept quiet, the stones along the road would burst forth into cheer, into song. How awesome a thought is that? That Jesus says, yes, even if everyone was quiet, this moment still carries such a heavenly, divine magnitude of what's happening in this moment, that I am the Messiah. Yes, I am the one who is the King. I am one who's going to come and bring a victory. Different when people don't expect, but it's going to be the great victory that people need in their lives, right? But even if everyone else here was silent, I want to tell you something Jesus says, that even the rocks would begin to cry out and to say blessings on the King who comes in the name of the Lord. Peace in heaven and glory in the highest heaven, right? I just love that, don't you? I love that image of rocks crying out. Y'all, I don't want a rock to cry out in my place, do you? I want Jesus to his name to come out of my heart, from my lips, and praise to his name. And not just in a sanctuary like this, but in every place I am. I don't want the rocks to take my place in crying out praise to the Lord. All right, y'all, that's a little bonus today. Bonus daily devotional. Hopefully the sound on this is working well and we can move forward with all this being much smooth. But listen, love you. Have a beautiful, beautiful Tuesday. And we'll look forward to being with you tomorrow in Luke chapter 20. God bless you now.